Mangwana ni Malalepo Vukenjani Dumelang Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Bedi, and these are some of the stories we'll be looking at. Ruto declares African Union unfit for future leadership and calls for immediate reform. President Museveni's son, Uganda's military chief, issues threats against Turkey and Iran. African tankers navigate Hormuz Strait as Botswana vessel gets turned back. Botswana president strengthens France relations through summit and strategic talks. South Africa releases draft AI policy with plans for governance and investment. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, Network Media Hub, and NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA is where you can watch us. My name is Ashwin Bedi. Top stories shortly.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises. From artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
Let's get into our top stories. Kenyan President William Ruto delivered a sharp critique of the African Union, saying its current structure is inadequate to effectively lead the continent into the future. Speaking during a high-level meeting with intelligence chiefs in Nairobi, Ruto said without hesitation that the AU in its present form is not capable of providing the leadership Africa requires, and emphasized the urgent need for reforms within the institution. He pointed to what he described as a failure to build consensus on key global matters, including the inability to present a unified African candidate for the United Nations Secretary-General position. Here is William Ruto.
My colleagues, heads of state, gave me the assignment to work on the reform of the Africa Union institutions and organs to make them fit for purpose for a time as this, as we look into the future. I can tell you without an iota of doubt that Africa Union, as is today, is not fit for purpose, is not fit to provide the leadership that this continent needs going into the future. And therefore, there is need for the reform of the Africa Union. I am asking of you, as intelligence leaders, to assist us to figure out what kind of Africa Union that we need to be able to unlock the potential that exists in our continent and the opportunities that we have, so that as we march into the future, as we become the single largest market, as a quarter of the world's population live in our continent, we take advantage of that position, because otherwise it can pose a major risk for us. And I want to tell you that there is a lot of resistance to the reform of the African Union. And we must work together for us to have an organization that is fit for purpose, that can represent our continent appropriately, and that can steer this continent into the future. My assignment to you is to assist us as leaders in this continent. And I know that many of you speak to leaders, presidents in our continent in some very personal way. For us to unlock the future of our continent, we need a fit-for-purpose Africa.
Muhoozi Kainerugaba, Uganda's chief of defense forces and son of the president, has issued strong warnings toward Turkey and Iran through a series of social media statements. He declared that Uganda could terminate all diplomatic relations with Turkey within 30 days and suggested blocking Turkish airlines. Now, his remarks also included commitments to send 100,000 Ugandan troops to support Israel and dismissive statements about Iran's military capabilities. His messaging has been consistently pro-Israeli, framed with religious language and expressions of support for Israel's position in the Middle East. Iran's embassy responded without concern, even mocking the statements. The tensions with Turkey are linked to issues including Uganda's request for the extradition of dissident Fred Lumbuye, a stalled railway agreement with Turkish firm Yapı Merkezi, and concerns about Turkey's growing regional influence. African-linked vessels have begun cautiously passing through the Strait of Hormuz following a fragile ceasefire between the United States and Iran, though traffic remains significantly reduced. A Gabon-flagged tanker completed the first non-Iranian passage after the truce, while a Liberia-flagged vessel also transited shortly after departing Iran's Banba Abbas port. In contrast, a Botswana-flagged liquefied natural gas tanker was turned back after being directed by Iran's Revolutionary Guard. Iran has stated that only vessels linked to the United States and Israel are restricted, while others may be allowed passage under specific arrangements. Ship traffic remains far below normal levels, with more than 600 vessels still stranded in the Gulf. Iran continues to require coordination for passage and has considered introducing tolls for container ships. Now, Botswana's President Advocate Duma Boko undertook a working visit to France, marking his first trip to the country since taking office. The visit included participation in the One Health Summit in Lyon on April 7, held alongside World Health Day and hosted under France's G7 presidency. Boko engaged with global leaders, scientists, and private sector figures, highlighting Botswana's health security policies and calling for coordinated global responses to shared health challenges. He was received by French President Emmanuel Macron. In Paris, Boko held bilateral discussions at the Élysée Palace, where both leaders outlined plans to deepen cooperation in trade, investment, infrastructure, energy, transport, and sustainable development. Now, South Africa has unveiled a draft national artificial intelligence policy aimed at regulating and advancing AI development while inviting public comment. Published by the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, the policy seeks to position the country as a leader in AI innovation across the continent. It proposes the establishment of new institutions, including a National AI Commission, an AI Ethics Board, and an AI Regulatory Authority to coordinate oversight, enforce standards, and manage compliance. Those have been our top stories. After the break, we'll be joined by Mike Sichula in Zambia as he delivers the Zambia Report. It's time for us to talk to Mike Sichula as he delivers the Zambia report. Mike Muribwanji.
Muribwanji, Africa, good morning to our dear viewers.
Africa, good morning indeed. Now, the Zambian government has lifted its ban on maize exports.
Yes, the government has decided to finally lift the ban that was imposed on maize exports and also its products such as meal. The decision has been made because during the 2025-2026 farming season, the maize harvest projection is over 3.5 million metric tons, which is above what the government had projected to harvest. And whenever there's a harvest of more than 3.5 million or over 2 million metric tons of maize, there's always a window that the government can export maize and also its products such as meal. So the decision has also been made because of inadequate storage facilities by government agencies such as the Food Reserve Agency, which normally they have been telling the nation that close to 20% of what is harvested usually goes to waste. So in order to avoid such problems, the government has decided to lift the ban. And also during this ban, private sectors, players who've got maize and also meal, they can export to neighboring countries, which are predominantly dominated by the Democratic Republic of Congo. But usually also the World Food Program and also FAO, they usually to request for the importation of maize from Zambia. So this decision is also expected to enable the country in forex, and also it is aimed at giving small-scale farmers another market beyond the Zambian market.
All right, Mike, now moving on. A $1.1 billion refinery project has been launched in the Copperbelt.
Yes, quite a huge investment that is coming again on the Copperbelt. So this project is being financed by the Zambia Petrochemical Energy Company, which will be built in partnership with the Zambia's Industrial Development Corporation. So they will build a crude refinery in the Copperbelt, which also used to host the Indeni refinery, which the government has stopped using because they have said that this refinery that was built by the administration of late President Dr. Kaunda has run out of its usefulness because it didn't have modern technology. So they want now this new refinery to come on board in order to compete with modern times. So the project is valued at 1.1 billion, as you have stated. Then the Minister of Energy, Makozo Chikote, was the guest of honor during the groundbreaking ceremony. So the refinery is expected to produce about 3 million metric tons of fuel in a year, and the construction project will take about 18. So it is expected to come into operational in 2027. Once this is in operational, there is also this projection that it is going to ease the fuel pressure that the Zambian government has been experiencing, especially, for instance, with the war in Ukraine. So it is expected that this is going to create some bit of relief for the government, so that there isn't too much pressure of fuel and its products whenever there's a global crisis.
Now, Mike, the nation of Zambia is mourning the passing of Kaweche Kaunda in Dola.
Yeah, quite a sad state of affairs, and it happened. The family described his death as sudden because he had traveled. He was based in Lusaka, and he traveled to Ndola on a business trip, according to his elder brother, Colonel Panji Kaunda, who is Zambia's High Commissioner to Malawi. So he said Kaweche died on Friday at an apartment on a business trip in Ndola. He was aged 67, and he is the fifth born of Dr. Kaunda's children. When he was 5 years old when Dr. Kaunda became Zambia's president. Then in the latter years, he took care of Dr. Kaunda in his final years. He now becomes the fifth of Dr. Kaunda's children to die, after Masuzo, Wezi, Dr. Waza, and Kambalanje. May his soul rest in peace.
Now, Mike, safe to say that both of us had football teams that could have performed better on the weekend. As you can tell, I've got a painful jaw. Some might say that's from Bournemouth punching Arsenal in the face. Unfortunately, our dear Copper Queens did not have a better result against Canada.
Not at all. It was a very sad result for the Copper Queens. And now the problem now has been compounded further because Coach Nora Hapton has decided to quit her role. She's not in Brazil, and she did not even come. So the other team was also hit by visa restriction. Barbara Banda, for instance, arrived in Brazil on the day of the match. So even when she came on during the second half, she didn't have that much firepower as she was dealing with jet flight issues. So the 4-0 bashing is somewhat many soccer fans expected to happen, because the team went into Brazil with the depleted numbers, considering that key players like Rachel Kundananji, they are not there. Emeline Katongo, she's not there, and many others. So it was not a fully fledged Copper Queens. And the number of soccer fans have called on the Football Association of Zambia, led by Keith Mwemba, to ensure that whenever there's such an opportunity of a big tournament like the FIFA series, they must take serious measures so that the team is well represented. So this Copper Queen team is being coached by Charles Lubono, who is also quite an accomplished female coach. Team coach in Zambia. Is coaching one of the biggest teams that have dominated the women's league, the Green Buffaloes women's team. So it is expected that maybe he may be given that role to coach the Copper Queens as they head to the WAFCON this year.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike, for delivering the Zambia report.
Thank you very much. Have a blessed week.
All right. In our economic news, a new metric known as Gross Domestic Intelligence, or GDI, is emerging as a way to assess economic strength in the AI era. Analysts suggest it could become a key benchmark for evaluating national competitiveness by measuring access to AI resources such as computing infrastructure, GPUs, networking payments, and data centers. Morgan Stanley analysts indicated that GDI may serve as an important investment tool for assessing countries and industries. Research from Epoch AI shows that the United States dominates global AI compute capacity, holding approximately 75%, followed by China at around 10%, with the European Union, Norway, and Japan trailing behind. Updated data from late 2025 continues to show dominance by American companies, with firms like Google leading through the use of proprietary technology and large-scale GPU deployment. Now, African central banks are gradually increasing their gold reserves as a part of a broader global trend toward diversification, with total purchases reaching 27 tons in February 2026. The accumulation, valued at approximately $2 billion, reflects a measured and policy-driven approach across the continent. Countries including Uganda, Kenya, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo are participating, with Uganda launching a domestic purchasing program and Kenya planning gradual accumulation. While Africa's share remains modest, the move aligns with global patterns where a small group of countries dominate gold demand. Nations such as China, Poland, and Kazakhstan continue to drive the majority of purchases, maintaining elevated demand levels. The strategy aims to reduce exposure to currency volatility and strengthen financial stability. Additional efforts include formalizing gold production as seen in the DRC's targets. Despite supply cushioning from producers like Nigeria and Angola, the shift underscores growing interest in gold as a reserve hedge. Thank you for joining us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, and NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA. My name is Ashwin Berry. Here are the economic indicators as we say, Swerai Jakanaka.